Well, good afternoon. I am Ron Corbin, Cottonwood City Manager, and this is another edition of Inside Cottonwood. Before we show you the picture of who our guest is, I am super excited. I've been his guest, and now he's going to be my guest. He makes me do the show monthly, even though I don't want to do it. I report to him, and he leads our city, and I couldn't be happier that our mayor, the mayor of Cottonwood, Tim Elinski, is here today. Good morning or good afternoon, Mayor.
Thank you. It's good to be on this side, actually, not on your side. So I'm looking forward to this. This is awesome. Thank you.
I get to ask all the questions, and I may or may not have told you about all the questions I'm going to ask, but
Good.
We'll see as the show goes on.
Good.
But so I've been here about 3 years now.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been mayor?
I've been mayor for about 6 years now.
6 years.
Yep.
And how have you done? How have things changed in the 6 years since you've been here at the lead? Because a lot of people think the mayor that like they can do everything. And so what have you learned about? What have you accomplished? What do you want to talk about your first 6 years, as mayor?
Well, I'll tell you, I've been on, it's almost 17 years now, total public service.
Wow.
So I've been here a while, but when I first decided to run for mayor, I thought one term, because surely I can get it all done
right.
in just one term. I think a lot of folks feel that same way, when they get into elected office. But we've just had so much fun the first term that we needed to go for another round.
Round. So 8 years total before you have to decide.
Yeah, 8 years, that's right. But boy, we sure have gotten a lot done. We have basically an all-new elected council since I first got on as mayor, a new city manager. We've really kind of re-examined who we are as a city, who we are as leadership, and pivoted in a lot of different ways. And it's been really exciting to be, at the helm, as it were, leading the organization. Now, I'm one of 7, so though I get to set the agenda and really lead the discussion, it truly is teamwork, and I could not be in the great position we are now if it weren't for my colleagues on council, and of course you as manager and the staff that you've helped guide the ship. So
we really do have a good council and a great leadership team. One of the reasons I've invited you on today is just about that. It's kind of, we're going to talk a little bit about city government and what it means to run for public office, and maybe a little bit of heads up about running for city council, because this is an election year. So I believe we have 3 seats that are open, three vacancies that are up for election. I think you have until April to turn in the petition. So we're going to talk about that. But before we did that, I thought we'd just kind of talk about how you get involved in the city. So maybe I don't want to run for council and gather those signatures. The government can't run by itself, can't run by staff alone. There needs to be volunteers. What would you suggest someone who's thinking about running for council or wanting to make a difference in their community?
I think there's a lot of opportunities right now in Cottonwood to get involved, and maybe you don't want to leap into gathering signatures on a petition to get on the ballot. There are other commissions that we have here in Cottonwood that you could volunteer to be a part of. Still great decision making with a team, a good opportunity for that. And I'll just tell you, Planning and Zoning Commission, for one, is a really great place. That's where I got started. I served for 1 year on the Planning and Zoning Commission before getting appointed to council. It's a body of 7 decision makers that really guide planning and zoning, how our city develops, how it looks aesthetically, and its orderly growth, and it's one of those bodies that they're kind of in the background. You don't think of them all the time as being front and center, but boy, they make a lot of really important decisions.
They do. So council, of course, is my policymakers and who we follow the city, but P&Z has a significant impact on what our community looks like and feels like. We're going to talk about the retreat that council recently had. One of the things that comes out from this council's retreat the last couple of years is we want to maintain our small community feel. Mm-hmm. Now that's what P&Z has a lot to do with there. Everything from building designs, colors, looks, shapes, height, how much open space, all those kinds of things. They have some input onto. So do you know what kind of qualification, like who should be on P&Z? I'm afraid to make those kind of decisions, by myself. But what qualifications do I need to have to serve on P&Z?
Obviously, it would help if you had some sort of a background in design or planning. I mean, these sort of things help. But honestly, if you're passionate about your community, I think that's really front and center what matters the most is, do you love the place where you live? Do you want to help be a part of a team that makes it better? That, in my book, qualifies you to serve. And that commission is a great place to start. So if they want to be on P&Z or think about or talk to somebody, they can call Community Development. Scott Ellis is our director, and so he can fill them in on what it's about. And then Human Resources is taking applications. I believe we have 2 vacancies right now. But it's a great way to get started. What about any other commissions or volunteer opportunities for Cottonwood if you're thinking about giving back? We have another commission, which is the Historic Preservation Commission. This was a commission I started actually some time ago, and they deal a lot more with design elements in the historic district. They put on the Historic Home and Building Tour every year. They do a historic resources survey of all the historic properties we have in Cottonwood. So that's a really great commission if you're interested about the history and our own local heritage. That's a great place to volunteer as well. We have committees. They're not sanctioned commissions, so they're not appointed by council, but we have committees that oversee things at the library or Parks and Rec and these sorts of things. It's, again, a lot of really great opportunities to get involved and help out. And a couple great directors over there at the library and Parks and Rec. We have Ryan at the library and Jack at Parks and Rec. And I know the library's been advertising, Parks and Rec's been advertising for just volunteers. If you don't want to serve on a commission, you can go and volunteer. The library can always use help. Parks and Rec can always use help. So that's great. Now, so they fill out an application to be on HPC or PZ. So they meet once a month. Is it, so you served a year on P&Z. Is it a lot of work, or am I giving up my free time to do this? You're not. It's really, again, you can put in as many hours as you want, but at a bare minimum, you know, you want to look at what's on the agenda. You want to read your packet of material, and definitely want to visit the sites that you're going to be, you know, voting on. Right. But I mean, it could take anywhere from, you could give it, you know, 10 hours a month. You could give it as much time as you wanted, but it's, you know, the meetings are typically about 1.5 hours, 2 hours long. So is it a big time commitment? No, not given the reward that you'll reap from being a part of the team that makes these decisions. It's really not that much to give. Right. And P&Z, people wonder the impact you'll have. And I was just sitting here thinking about, in the 3 years I've been here and what we have coming up, the impact they're going to have. You know, we've got some controversial developments coming up. We've got, I don't even want to mention it, but we've got a far out development out near this creek. They're going to have some input on. Yes. They're going to be able to make some decisions early on that. So if you really want to make a difference, now to be on P&Z, you have to live in the city limits, I believe. And so, but if you want to make a difference on what that development looks like, if you want to make a difference on what Main Street looks like, we've got a couple projects coming up, some new buildings bought. So I think over the next couple years, there's going to be some major input on what we look like as a community, and P&Z is the place to start. And the general plan too. So we're going to be presenting to the voters the general plan for them to vote on. Planning and zoning is going to have a big hand in crafting that general plan, which is a really big planning document that's going to guide us into the next 10 years. It's a lot of do's and don'ts for planning and zoning and city council and staff, and it really does help shape the future. It's a 10-year plan. So you're right, I forgot about that, but P&Z will be heavily involved with that. Very, very exciting. So again, P&Z, HPC, which is Historic Preservation Commission, if you're interested in that, library, Parks and Rec, we have a bicycle advisory commission, and the list goes on. So lots of opportunities for you to, let's say, put your toes in the water to see if you're interested in running for council, which we have coming up. So we're getting ready to go on a break. Our first 10 minutes is already up. I want to come back and I want to talk about the council's retreat. Great. So every year, council gets together and talks about priorities for the city. So when we come back from break, I'll get your take on what council decided at our retreat. Awesome.
There are people who struggle with addiction and homelessness. Sometimes it may feel like there is nothing we can do to help.
But there is. You can make a tax-deductible donation and help those in need transition away from homelessness.
When you give someone a handout, you could actually be supporting an addiction.
A better life starts with better health, especially for those living in the streets.
Support solutions, not addictions. You can make a difference. Visit cottonwoodcares.com.
Need a ride to work in Sedona? Hop on the new Verde Shuttle at the Cottonwood Library and ride to all the major employers in Sedona for just $2. It's just that easy. Looking to get back to work? Sedona has jobs and the Verde Shuttle gets you there every 45 minutes. It's just that easy. Working late? The Verde Shuttle runs until 10:30 and offers a free after-hours shuttle in Cottonwood. It's just that easy. Check out verdeshuttle.com for details or ask Google Maps for transit directions. It's just that easy.
Welcome back to another edition of Inside Cottonwood. I'm Ron Corbin, Cottonwood City Manager, and I am more than honored to have with us as our guest today the Mayor of Cottonwood, Mayor Tim Elinski. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Oh, I'm glad you're here. We talked about beforehand about the reason for this interview is really we have an election coming up. And so before our break, we talked about how to volunteer in the community and how to get started if you want to make an impact in the community. And we talked about HPC, our Historic Preservation Commission. We talked about P&Z. Both have vacancies, so reach out to the city, community development, or our human resources department and volunteer. Right?
Yes,
volunteer.
Absolutely.
Get started.
Yep.
And then, but now let's talk about, I want to move into council and what it's like. And one of the reasons I can interview you and not other council members is you're not running for election this year.
That's right.
So you've got another couple years before you have to decide if you're going to run again. So we're not bound by any rules on running for election and resources. So with that said, you have this annual retreat where council talks about priorities.
Yep.
We just had ours. What did you walk away with from that retreat?
Let me just say I really look forward to the retreats. It's really a great opportunity to when you see a council meeting, it's pretty regimented, and there's a certain protocol that we have to follow, and everything's really by the book, right? And there's there's an agenda that's set. You really can't deviate from that. So there's really not a lot of room for camaraderie, you know, we work as a team, but there really aren't very many opportunities for us to be team members and chummy, if you will.
You can't get together, right? I mean, if you get together at council meetings, and that's it, because you can't talk about anything in a group.
That's correct. Yeah, it would be a violation of the open meeting law. So we're restrained in a lot of ways. So the council retreats are kind of our opportunity to get together in a looser format. There's still an agenda, and we still get a lot of work done. But it's our opportunity to do some real big picture goal setting for the year or upcoming years. So ever since I got on as mayor, it was really important that we do it every single year. And when we have a new council seated, we'll do a more robust session and really onboard those new council members. So there's you know, good opportunities for getting to know your colleagues and answer any questions and that sort of thing. But this was not a year where we had new members seated, so it was just a one-day retreat. But I walked away really feeling energized and good about our year coming up. We have worked really hard to toe the line with our spending, putting money away in reserves, doing a lot of just long-range planning to help our economy sustain both the tough times through COVID, but also planning for the future. And it was just an opportunity for us to assess what we've done, tweak things for the future, but really celebrate what we have accomplished, and we've done a lot.
Well, we have, and so if I can just restate that financial place the city's in, very different than when you were on previously, and this is really fortunate for the city of Cottonwood, but we've been able to reserve money. So this council's been very, you said toe the line on spending, and we have our ratio of employee expenses to government revenue is down from 3 years ago, and so this council has done a great job of really having us toe the line. But that's created an opportunity over the next couple of years. So what was council's direction on spending for this next fiscal year, which will be July 1? Did you walk away feeling that council gave staff some direction?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we had a speaker come in from Brown's Consulting Group to talk about if your city's experiencing any kind of a windfall, the most important thing you can do is invest that money in a way that's going to have some return. And really that comes down to infrastructure. So we are going to be investing heavily in infrastructure in the coming years, which is much needed, as everyone who's driven a car on our streets or walked on our sidewalks knows. Our infrastructure is it needs some help. So we're really going to put some money at that.
I'm very excited about that as city manager to watch us take care of what we already have versus building a lot of new right off the bat. And so, this council's been nice, and they've allocated, like this year, $600,000 for new sidewalks. Yeah. So that's new sidewalks where it doesn't currently exist to make getting to and from school safer for our kids and our families who want to be out there. But also to improve our roads that need improving this next year. I think you're going to see a big difference, and we'll be bringing back that to council during the budget process. But a little off topic, when we talk about infrastructure, we had a presentation the other day from ADOT, from the Arizona Department of Transportation. And if I remember correctly, we could see Main Street, what I call Main Street, but 89A, from what I call the bridge in Bridgeport, all the way to Walgreens, could be fixed. Yeah. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah. But they've allocated some funding, and it's an ADOT road, and they've committed to improving that. Very, very, very excited about that. Yep. I think council also talked about making sure that we prioritize parks for our children and our community, going back to a small town feel, and investing on riverfront. Yep. So riverfront, council approved a park master plan a couple years ago, and we're going to see if we can afford to actually do some of that work over the next couple of years. Yep. Very, very excited about that. We also talked about, Mayor, if you can help me out here, about one of our biggest challenges, and talking about maybe some possible solutions. Can you tell us what council kind of directed staff on that? Yeah,
running theme for the whole day during the retreat, and really all of the last couple of years, has been workforce housing. We're at a crisis level, not just in Cottonwood. We know it's statewide, it's a nationwide issue, but we have identified some solutions here locally that I'm really proud of. And again, getting back to the theme of teamwork, we work collectively as a team, but we're also working with other communities. So we're working most closely with Sedona to solve some of these workforce housing issues. And most folks who've been around for a while know that Sedona's workforce comes from Cottonwood for the most part. They commute into Sedona to work. Now, as prices have escalated here in Cottonwood, we no longer are that affordable place to live. Sedona recognizes that, we recognize it, so we have to work together to try to come up with some solutions. We co-hired a housing manager, Shannon Boone. This is a big deal for us. She's going to work hard to find, federal monies and other solutions that we need here to solve some of these problems. And we've allocated money into a down payment assistance program, which I think is going to be a huge thing in our community.
Game changer.
Yeah, game changer. So again, trying to, Ron, in hiring folks, professionals to work here in the city, once they look around to try to find a place to live, we have lost the opportunity to hire these folks and bring them here. Now, these are well-paid professionals that simply can't afford to find a place to live. So programs like down payment assistance, I think, are going to really go a long ways to retaining those folks here.
Right, and the down payment assistance program is not just for city employees, it's for employees of companies in Cottonwood. Will be able to apply for this depending on their wage compared to the average median income. Very excited about that. Shannon also brought up a couple other things, including working with our developers and possibly getting them to commit to setting aside a percentage of their homes or apartments for workforce housing, for affordable housing. And I was so impressed with council. Now, this council doesn't say spend money. They say we'll consider it. But they seemed genuinely open to considering incentivizing developers, making sure housing is affordable for our employees, not city employees, but for residents of Cottonwood, because we want to live, work, and play in the same community.
Yep, that's correct.
Is that right?
Yeah, no, it's true. I just want to also make a very clear distinction. It's not a subsidy.
Correct.
Council's not looking at any subsidies. Again, the money that we have, we want to invest it wisely. And so the down payment assistance program, there's a loan. Yeah, it's a loan essentially, so it will fund itself, this program.
Equity.
Yeah, so we'll have equity in that. And then again, with the working with developers, we're not talking about waiving a sales tax or any of these other things. No, we're looking at, there are some ways the city can help be a partner, but not at the detriment or the expense of taxpayers.
And never a subsidy, like you said. Yeah. So a loan or some program where we get reduced rent for the for a certain amount of time. But I know council likes a self-sustaining program, and Shannon has been charged with finding that. But very, very excited about what she has to bring to the table when it's time. So. Infrastructure, the finance of the city, we talked about at the retreat. We talked about housing a lot that day. Yeah. So I want to talk about, we're going to have to go on a break, but when we come back, I want to talk about you personally, how it's felt to be an elected official, and what words of wisdom you might give to the people considering running for office, because we need good people. We need good people to help run the government and guide us. So when we come back, we'll hear from Mayor Elinski and his take on serving and giving back to the community as an elected official.
Terrifying jobs, high-flying linemen, take 3.
Josh, this is an absolutely terrifying job. Why do you do it?
It's a very demanding job, but very rewarding and exciting.
How much energy are you actually working with up there?
500,000 volts of electricity.
It's definitely not my line of work. Does anything shock you?
Yeah, distracted drivers terrify me.
Welcome back to Inside Cottonwood. I'm Ron Corbin, Cottonwood City Manager, and again, I am honored to have as our guest Mayor Elinski.
Again, great to be here. Thanks.
Glad you're here. So now let's talk about the real reason I brought you here, and it's to really make the community aware that we do have an election coming up. So I believe if you're going to run for City Council, you have to have your signatures in by early April. If you are interested in running, our City Clerk, Mary Ann, is the lady to reach out to and pick up your packet from. But the first thing, Mayor, maybe why'd you run, or what have you enjoyed about being an elected official? Why would somebody get into this crazy business?
It's a great question. It's one I get asked a lot, right? Why on earth would you want to be an elected official? I'll tell you, I didn't start out as an elected official. I started out getting appointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So that's really where I dipped my feet in the water, so to speak. And the reason why I did was a very simple reason. There was something happening in my neighborhood at the time that had my neighbors and I upset. And so we went to the Planning and Zoning Commission to try to fight for our neighborhood. And that's really what got me involved. And so once I rallied the troops with the neighbors and we sort of had our minor success, I realized that I didn't want to be one of those that just was, I had a single issue and I got my way and then I'm going to recede into the woodwork and you'll never hear from me again. I thought, I don't want to be that negative person that just pushes hard to get his way and then isn't a part of the ongoing solutions to these ongoing problems that any city has. So Cottonwood is my home. I love it here. I am born and raised in Arizona. In rural Arizona is where I was raised. I'm raising my 2 daughters here in rural Arizona. It is just absolutely important to me to do everything I can to give back to the community that I think did a pretty good job raising me, frankly. So,
well, the verdict's still out on that, Mayor, but we'll let that go for another session. So, what quality do you think, if I'm considering whether I should run or not, what do you think's important for a good council member? Because they're not. alone in the decision making, as you started out this whole session with, is 7. So even as mayor, you're just one vote of 7.
That's right.
So what quality does a person need to have or possess to hold this office of council member?
Like I said earlier, I mean, a passion for your community really helps. I mean, that's what should drive us all. But you know, the things that we do, again, we're really focused on policy. So if you're worried about, I've never balanced a budget before, or I've never hired or fired people before, you don't really need to worry too much about that, because we're really policy oriented. So again, passion for your community is really going to be your driving force. So we have a professional city manager that does all the hard work. We have to make those decisions about, you know, for example, when we get together and we say quality of life is important to us. Those are the sort of things that we will make a policy decision on, and then we'll let you figure out how to do that. The biggest policy document that we put together is the budget. I mean, that really is, we work on it all year long, we approve it, and then we start all over again. We work on it all year long. It is the biggest document that we put together. It plans everything. So it really is important to have some good fiscal sense about you. I'm a business owner, and that has helped a lot. You don't need to be a business owner to run for council, but I mean, if you can balance your checkbook,
that would be helpful.
That would be helpful.
Like that.
That would be helpful.
Someone has to check our math periodically, and you guys do. We actually have a couple business owners, a couple retirees, a couple of working professionals. We have a great mix on council right now when it comes to representing our community. So passion sounds important. How much time do you think most council members spend on council duties? From the outside looking in, it really varies to me, but we meet 3 times a month normally, a few more times during budget season, strategic planning, but it doesn't, again, from someone who's employed in the city, from the outside, it doesn't look overwhelming.
It's really not. Again, our meetings are a couple hours long. There's a preparation that goes into the meeting. We have packets that can be anywhere from 50 to 300 pages.
Yes, sorry.
Not to frighten you, but you know, there's a lot. There is a lot of reading. There's you know, constituents that you want to engage with. So bare minimum, I'd say 10 hours a week.
Okay.
The max, you could. I mean,
as mayor, you've given a few more than 10 periodically.
You can give as much as you want, and most. The 2 mayors I served, well, that's not true. Diane Jones, former Mayor Jones, she was retired. The mayor prior to that I served with was Ruben Hardigy, and he, I think, had scaled down his business at that point. But so he was still working, but he was able to find time. The thing I can't stand is when people say, "I don't have the time to run." Yes, believe me, you absolutely do. You have the time to give back to your community. You know, own and operate 3 businesses. I'm raising 2 girls. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm all these things. I'm also mayor. I find the time to do it because it's important. Believe me, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
I didn't want to say that, but you do answer my phone calls 99% of the time, so I'm very, very happy about that. And there are 4 council members that are not running for election. Well, 3 council members and you are not running. So it allows for continuity and a lot of support there, so you don't have to feel overwhelmed. You guys have great partnerships and support each other, even when you disagree. It's one of the things I've enjoyed about working for this council is that even when we've disagreed or when you guys have disagreed among yourself, at the end of the day, you guys are still polite, respectful, what I call kindness. You guys respect each other. And so I think that a new person would find that same reception from our current council.
100%. And I'm glad you brought that up because we do disagree. And especially during COVID, we saw some very big disagreements amongst the council. But we have respect for one another and we have one another's back. I mean, we really do. It's a great team, and I personally like to see some disagreement when we're having policy discussions because that's how I know our community is well represented. If we're all agreeing 100% of the time, there's something wrong. Right. In my opinion.
We're missing somebody.
We're
not
somebody.
Representing
That's
someone.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And this is a nonpartisan office. It's another reason I think it's really important to not be intimidated by getting involved. We're not talking about R's and D's here. We're talking about getting work done on behalf of our community.
So again, Marianne Jimenez is our city clerk, been our city clerk for a few years, for quite a while. So reach out to her, her office there, and pick up a packet if you're interested to do that. So we're almost out of time, Mayor, but here's that question I told you that was coming. So we have a motto, we have a inspiring a vibrant community is what we live by. So you said the budget is your most important document that council does. I then add our strategic plan, which is done every 2 years, which guides me in our policies and what we do. And then we live by that motto, inspiring a vibrant community. It's in our performance evaluations. All city employees are expected to do things that inspire a vibrant community. But what I want to ask you is, as mayor, as an elected official, how do you inspire a vibrant community, or how could someone on council inspire a vibrant community?
That is a good question. How do I inspire a vibrant community? I think I like to live by example. So I and my family do try to live in this community and in such a way that, look, Cottonwood's not perfect. We have many things that need improved. And it's the same as any other community you live in. We want to create the community that we want to live in. That's really what my family and I are trying to do. And so that's the way that I think I try to inspire our vibrancy in our community, is by, we have some work to do, but I'm not going to sit back and point fingers. We're going to be a part of creating that community in which we all want to live.
So being a part of the solution really is what we've been talking about today. Step up and be a part of the solution. Yes. So, Mayor, I hope it wasn't too rough on you. I really appreciate you coming into this edition of Inside Cottonwood, and thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
You bet. Well, that's a wrap. That's another edition of Inside Cottonwood. Again, I'm Ron Corbin, Cottonwood City Manager.